Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey.
I'm Don Pravda, and good afternoon.
And you know, you can't make up what we're about to talk about. Don, we're talking about sovereignty on our show and the misuse of sovereignty. And Emmanuel Macron, who spoke at the Netherlands, and of course I have a solo piece on his speech concerning reciprocity, but he also spoke about sovereignty and stressed European Union sovereignty. And there was a major contradiction in that. I mean major contradiction, because he's talking about European Union sovereignty, of course, which should be respected, the EU as a whole. But what about other nations where the sovereignty isn't respected, such as Israel?
Little Israel, which is the size of New Jersey and Vermont. I think they're entitled to their own country, a Jewish homeland. How do you feel about that, Eric?
I feel that the nations of the world want to tell Israel basically what to do. It better toe the line with a two-state solution. It better do as the nations of the world say. And then you have all of this propaganda and terms such as apartheid and occupied territories, occupied Jerusalem, occupied East. You know, it's not giving Israel sovereignty over its own nation.
What are they thinking? What are they waiting for?
Why is that done? Why do you think Israel is not regarded as a sovereign nation and the nations want to tell Israel, you're Jewish, what's the Jewish experience in all of this?
The Jewish experience is there's a few 100 million enemies around Israel, and they feel incensed that this little country has its own destiny, its own time, its own universe, that people are studying Torah, that the rabbis are present, the Talmud is real, and that this is what it appears the ancient land of Moses and Aaron and of King David, who did exist. And no matter how much you try and deny it, let the archaeologists continue to dig, and what do they find? They find Jewish history.
But it's totally disregarded by the world, and it's talked about as history that it's almost that it doesn't belong to the Jews. The Bible is disregarded as a source, but you also have the Jews in their own land can't make certain decisions, can't visit certain sites, can't build on certain land. What is up with that? What's up? What's up?
I've stated previously.
What's up, Don? What's up?
Well, I was on the Temple Mount. I found it normal. I found it to be an imperative in my life, edifying, and something I'll never forget. And it seemed to me that I was home.
But the nations, and especially some of the groups, the Palestinians, certain Palestinians, there's no recognition of Israel as belonging to the Jews, but there's not even any recognition of of Jerusalem being the capital of Israel, and there's talk of it being Palestine and not Israel, and yet no other nation that has gone into an area ever has had to deal with this after taking possession other than the Jews. It's almost like a form of anti-Semitism that's now extending into the nation and what the Jews can do in their own nation. Isn't that like a form of anti-Semitism?
My experience differs from those enemies. I'm a witness to it. The Armenian sector is supported by Israel and protected. Armenian Christians study easily, independently. The Orthodox Church has its representatives, its officials studying in Israel. Catholics are studying in Israel. Evangelical churches openly study their religion in Israel. I've never seen any interference with religion being practiced. And the holy sites of the Muslims are respected. That is my opinion. And I've never seen anything or really heard anything otherwise. And any violent outbursts or incidents are very regrettable.
But why do you think, Don, the Jews are not given the respect of the sovereignty over their land, over Jerusalem? Why do you think?
There's other people who are covetous of this holy land, this special place in the history of the world and of faith. And all we want is to be acknowledged, respected, and we expect a commitment to our identity should be respected and supported. And there's no reason why anybody should be hurt or shamed because people, they study Torah, they study Jewish history. There's no reason for any incidents.
You have a good point there. But there is, and there's all this contention. And I listened to Netanyahu speak about what the Jews are really not even allowed, what they don't want allowed in their own land, the rights they want to take away. And then, of course, they go back to, the UN Security Council resolution, and this was this. But really, back originally with the mandate, the British mandate, it was Israel.
I go back, I am an American citizen. I was born in New York. It is part of America. There's a great American named Mark Twain. He visited Israel in the 19th century. He wrote about it. He took his share of notes. He also noted that the government was he could even barely find a government. What was the Ottoman Empire doing with the Holy Land? Nothing. It was like dust. Israel emerges as this incredibly beautiful, powerful, remarkable nation when the Jewish people return to Israel. Then it emerges. Not because of the Ottoman Empire or because of the British Empire, because the Jewish people return to their eternal home.
What's your thoughts on the fact that its sovereignty, the leadership's sovereignty over the land, is not respected, and so many nations want to get in and tell Israel what to do, how to do it, and the Palestinians claim, which really they don't even want the nation of Israel. They don't want two states. They want one state, and knocking Israel and kicking it off the block.
We respect the Arab people, and they have been part of the land for centuries, and they have been keepers of Israel also. However, there have always been Jewish people there from generation to generation. The truth is, they've never left. Where did the so-called lost tribes go to? Israel.
But
Maybe
you're
they
not
never
answering
left.
my question,
Okay.
Mr. Don.
Yeah.
You're not answering my question.
Okay.
Not answer. The question is, what are your thoughts concerning the fact that Israel is not allowed the sovereignty over its land? That the Jews are really not allowed full sovereignty over their land like any other leadership in any other nation. What's your thoughts?
Thoughts are the Jews have our own government. We have elected officials. It's a democracy. We vote.
Done.
Yeah.
You're still not answering the question.
Yeah.
The question is that the nations don't want to give Israel that right to decide what's good. What's your thoughts about
Well,
that?
that's their problem. It's not my problem, it's their problem. I'd have to say, get a cup of coffee, whether it's espresso Turkish coffee, or have a drink and drink up to Israel. The Jewish people are staying. We have a right to exist. We have a right to our homeland. And I think it's one of the greatest places in the history of the world.
Yes,
That's my
very
thoughts
exciting, and very exciting for the world's religions. But again, its sovereignty is not respected. And so that's what we're highlighting on this show, is Emmanuel Macron coming out now. You know, sovereignty is usually used for the nation state. Now we have an empire claiming it's sovereign, but yet that empire doesn't recognize other empires' sovereignty, and it doesn't recognize Israel's sovereignty. It only recognizes those which it defines as democratic of its definition of democracy, which may not really be democracy. And that's actually a loaded statement, but it's true. It defines sovereignty, what fits its empire. In other words, it's allowed sovereignty of a democracy that really doesn't fit a democracy, but they feel is their version of democracy.
Maybe something. Maybe they should worry about something else.
But it's also
worry
this,
about poverty.
and it's also this same empire that wants to tell Israel what it should do, because we did a piece on Joseph Borrell and the Abercrombie communique and the European Union statement, and really pushing this two-state solution. So it's a contradiction that Europe would come out with this, or Emmanuel Macron would come out with this statement of sovereignty and the importance of sovereignty of the European Union, when they're not recognizing the sovereignty of Israel.
Start recognizing it.
You know, Don,
Start rejoicing.
Don, you've been a wonderful help on this topic today.
Thank you.
A wonderful help on this topic. So that's it for today's commentary on sovereignty. Again, recap: Emmanuel Macron emphasizing European Union sovereignty, while just a short time ago coming out with a proposal for a two-state solution for Israel, which they are backing and they are pushing for. So therefore, they're not recognizing Israel's sovereignty. One of the contradictions in geopolitics.
I'll give you another contradiction.
What?
That I like the name Emmanuel very much. I'm related to a family named Emmanuel, so we have that in common. You're Emmanuel, and I'm Emmanuel. We're both Emmanuel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we'll be going again when we're in Paris. We'll be going by the French presidential palace. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of Manny. Maybe we'll be able to get a...
Maybe I'll tell him that you're Emmanuel and I'm Emmanuel.
Who knows? Maybe he may show up at this
Emmanuel.
event we're going to be at. Who knows? Maybe he'll be there.
We'll have a pastry together, or a cup of coffee.
Well, folks, be sure to tune in to the Twist News. If you don't subscribe to our channel, subscribe today. Check out our Amazon store, and on our Amazon store, we have the books of our guests who are special guests on this show. Don, any final words?
Rejoice, rejoice, shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank God for everything.
And stay tuned for more.